All right, everyone, hello, and welcome back to the channel. All right, so I did have a subscriber that made a good idea about making a video pertaining to Poster 7 and its legalities. I did have these two videos that I put together. I had them posted on my channel last year, and that subscriber he made a good point that I went back in my archives here and I brought it back. So this way I've edited these two videos here, two examples of frauditors going into the post office and legally being kicked out. And like I said, I took all my commentary out, so basically the videos are pure. You guys are welcome to download these videos, and if you like, bring it to your local post office so that they can use it to have some kind of defense if they do get any of these frauditors that go in there and want to do as they please and use the First Amendment freedom of press or whatsoever as a way of getting away with their bull crap. Okay, so like I said, feel free to download the video, use it as you please. Hopefully we can put a stop to this frauding bull crap. Poster 7 gives the postmaster as well as the employees the power to stop this bullcrap of these frauditors going into the post office and harassing people. All right, guys, let me know what you think about it in the comment section. Hopefully it's a good idea. That subscriber did good. See ya.
Sometime around February 24th, 2020, photojournalist and activist Jason Gutterman, along with his teenage son Benjamin Gutterman, were traveling through the town of Silverthorne, Colorado, when they decided to conduct a First Amendment audit on the local post office. Mr. Gutterman entered the post office and stood in line to purchase stamps from the register, before being told by the post office employee that he was not allowed to film in the building. Mr. Gutterman challenged the employee's statements, and after the employees and patrons of the post office became disgruntled by Mr. Gutterman's presence, officers from the Silverthorne Police Department arrived on the scene. Although this episode is somewhat longer than the typical episode of ATA, I highly recommend that you watch the entirety of this episode to gain a deeper understanding of the legal complexities at play.
So how are you? Can I get your name and badge number, sir?
Yeah, absolutely. It's Jake Arneson, and badge number 28.
28. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So have you ever, their issue is with us filming in here. Are you familiar with the postal rules and regulations?
So I spoke with them. They're telling me the post office employees are saying they don't permit filming.
Right. So there's something called, I'll show you over here. Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
So they have something called Poster 7, okay, which is the rules and regulations of the post office governing conduct on postal property. Okay. There is a section for photographs for news, advertising, or commercial purposes, which allows us to take photographs inside of the post office as long as we are not in a restricted area. As long as we're in a publicly accessible
Could we
area.
actually go outside so we're not restricting them getting in?
Yeah, let's go right over here. Just plenty of room. Yeah. So that's all we're doing. We're traveling through Silverthorne.
Yeah.
I'm in line to buy a stamp. That's all I was doing. And we're just documenting our trip.
Okay. Well, they've asked you to turn the cameras off.
But that's not the law.
Okay.
That's just their feelings and their requests. So I'm going to respectfully deny that request and go by federal law.
Mr. Gutterman asks the post office employee whether he has ever read Poster 7, which contains rules for conduct on postal property as provided in Section 232.1 of Title 39 of the Code of Federal Regulations. The rules and regulations contained in Poster 7 apply to all real property under the charge and control of the U.S. Postal Service, to all tenant agencies, and to all persons entering in or on such property, and they must be kept posted at a conspicuous place on all such property. According to the Postal Service's website, the general policy for photography and filming on Postal Service premises is found in subsection I of Poster 7 and section 124.58 of the Postal Operations Manual, both of which state that, quote, photographs for news purposes may be taken in entrances, lobbies, foyers, corridors, or auditoriums when used for public meetings, except where prohibited by official signs or security force personnel or other authorized personnel or a federal court order or rule. Other photographs may be taken only with the permission of the local local postmaster or installation head. The Postal Service's website further clarifies the policies for filming in a post office, stating that, quote, all requests from qualified news reporting services to film or photograph on Postal Service premises must be referred to the local public affairs and communications representative. Informal snapshots from handheld cameras for personal use may be allowed at the postmaster's discretion, provided that there is no disruption to Postal Service operations and that the pictures are taken from areas accessible to the public. In these cases, no prior permission is required from the Office of Rights and Permissions. However, no lighting or scaffolding may be set up, and no picture can depict any Postal Service employee, customer, security camera, or cover of mail, i.e. the exterior of a mail piece, which would show customer name and address, among other things. Postmasters may restrict any and all photography if they determine that it is disruptive or there are potential security concerns. While the Silverthorne Postmasters policies are not publicly available, Poster 7 grants considerable discretion to post office authorities to regulate photography and filming inside the post office. I have not considered whether a policy prohibiting filming in a post office would violate the First Amendment, but in the 1990 case of United States versus Coquinda, the U.S. Supreme Court upheld a Poster 7 provision prohibiting soliciting alms and contributions, campaigning for election to any public office, collecting private debts, commercial soliciting and vending, and displaying or distributing commercial advertising on postal premises, particularly on a walkway from the parking lot to the entrance. In reaching the conclusion that this rule did not violate the First Amendment, the court determined that, while postal entryways may be open to the public, quote, that fact alone does not establish that such areas must be treated as traditional public fora under the First Amendment. The Postal Service has not expressly dedicated its sidewalks to any expressive activity. Indeed, postal property is expressly dedicated to only one means of communication, the posting of public notices on designated bulletin boards. No Postal Service regulation opens postal sidewalks to any First Amendment activity. Thus, the regulation at issue must be analyzed under the standards set forth for non-public fora. It must be reasonable and not an effort to suppress expression merely because public officials oppose the speaker's view. The reasonableness standard is a fairly low bar, and post office officials could likely establish the reasonableness of a blanket prohibition against filming based on security, privacy, or operational concerns.
The rules are posted on the wall, sir. And I just want to make you aware, I'm going to advise the three of you right now that if you make me leave this post office, you're violating my constitutional rights and you're also violating the law.
Okay.
And I will very adamantly pursue that, and I have a very huge network of defense attorneys and people behind me. So I just want to make you aware of that before that happens.
That's your right. That's fine.
Okay.
Do you have your IDs on you?
What would you need ID for?
I need to identify who I'm talking to. I was called here lawfully to talk to you.
Do you suspect me of committing a crime or having committed a crime?
You're trespassing, sir.
I'm not trespassing.
You are.
Have you asked me to leave?
I'm
If you ask me to leave and I refuse to leave, then I'm trespassing.
I'm asking you to leave.
You're asking me to leave in full knowledge that you're violating my constitutional rights.
They've asked you to leave.
Have you read the law on the wall? Would you like to at least, can we look at that first?
I understand what's written on the wall.
You didn't even read
But the
it. How do you
employees
understand
asked
it?
you to leave, okay?
You haven't looked at what's on the wall.
Sir,
Does anybody want to take a look at the rules? You have the federal law right there. Not only do I have a legal right to be here, I have a constitutionally protected. This is a constitutionally protected activity, and you're about to violate that. You might want to call a lieutenant. Seriously.
Okay.
I don't want to have to sue Silverthorne. I want to avoid that. And you will be on the hook for a massive...
The Post Office has asked us to ask you to leave.
You're not federal police. Why don't you call the federal police? You have no jurisdiction in this building.
Mr. Gutterman asserts that only federal police officers have jurisdiction inside a post office, and that the Silverthorne police officers do not, which may not be an accurate statement. According to the Department of Justice Criminal Resource Manual, government property can be categorized in 3 ways for the purposes of federal criminal jurisdiction. The manual states that, quote, first, certain lands fall within the exclusive jurisdiction of the United States. As this term implies, on these lands, federal criminal law applies, to the exclusion of state law. Other properties acquired by the United States fall within the concurrent criminal jurisdiction of the state and federal governments. Finally, the United States may acquire property without accepting any special criminal jurisdiction over it. In this situation, the United States simply retains proprietary jurisdiction over the property. If a federal building is under the exclusive or concurrent jurisdiction of the United States, it is considered a quote-unquote federal enclave, and under Section 7 of Title 18 of the United States Code, the federal government has, quote, special maritime and territorial jurisdiction over, quote, any lands reserved or acquired for the use of the United States, and under the exclusive or concurrent jurisdiction thereof, or any place purchased or otherwise acquired by the United States States by consent of the legislature of the state in which the same shall be, for the erection of a fort, magazine, arsenal, dockyard, or other needful building. While post offices are considered a needful building, not every post office is a federal enclave, and the analysis to determine the status of an individual building is complex and time-consuming, often requiring unconventional research methods. However, even if the Silverthorne Post Office is a federal enclave, the Silverthorne police officers could still have the authority to protect the post office. According to Section 3061C1 of Title 18 of the United States Code, quote, "The Postal Service may employ police officers for duty in connection with the protection of property owned or occupied by the Postal Service, or under the charge and control of the Postal Service, and persons on that property, including duty in areas outside the property to the extent necessary to protect the property and persons on the property." In fact, Poster 7 itself states that, quote, "Local postmasters and installation heads may enter into agreements with state and local enforcement agencies to ensure that these rules and regulations are enforced in a manner that will protect Postal Service property." Without knowing the arrangements made for security in the Silverthorne Post Office, it's impossible to say whether the officers had the authority to enforce the postal workers' request that Mr. Gutterman leave the premises. But they would be within the bounds of their authority to do so if the federal government had proprietary jurisdiction over the post office property, or if the post office was a federal enclave that made an agreement with local police.
We can work on
If you want to ask me about DWI laws and speeding laws and that kind of thing, I have no idea what I'm talking about. You ask me about this stuff, I know better than your district attorney does.
Here's my business card, you can sue me, okay?
I'm not going to sue you unless you formally trespass me.
They're asking me to leave.
And I'm respectfully declining unless I'm being formally trespassed. If you formally trespass me, I will leave immediately. Ma'am, am I free
We
to...
want you
They
to
do not
go.
want you back in.
Am I free to leave?
The building, yes.
I'm asking, am I free to leave?
The building, yes.
So if I'm free to leave, I'm free to stay. So I'm going to go buy my stamp.
They do not want you in that office.
That's not their call.
Yeah, it is.
Well, then formally trespass me and I'll leave. You can't have it both ways. That's not the way it works. I'm sorry. I am not refusing to leave. I will walk out the door immediately and never come back if I am formally trespassed. If I am not formally trespassed, I'm going to go buy my stamp. So what do we do?
Go ahead, they're not going to serve you.
Okay. It's not a no-win.
I'll give you my
You know what?
card.
You know what?
You're formally trespassed, go.
I want it in writing.
We'll
Just
write it
go.
down.
You're going to give it to me in writing?
We'll write it down.
Okay.
Sure.
And you're not going to buy time for 15 minutes until they close the door and not formally trespass me. I'm giving you 3 minutes to start the paperwork and I'm coming back in.
All right.
Mr. Gutterman refuses to leave the premises without receiving a written formal trespass order, which is not legally required under any circumstances. If the post office is under proprietary federal jurisdiction, there are 2 Colorado criminal statutes that may apply to the situation. Section 18-9-110 of the Colorado Revised Statute states that, quote, "No person shall willfully refuse or fail to leave any public building owned, operated, or controlled by the state, or any of the political subdivisions of the state, or at any building owned, operated, or controlled by the federal government, upon being requested to do so by the chief administrative officer or his designee charged with maintaining order in such public building, if the person has committed, is committing, threatens to commit, or incites others to commit any act which did, or would if completed, disrupt, impair, interfere with, or obstruct the lawful missions, processes, procedures, or functions being carried on in the public building." Additionally, Section 18-4-504 of the Colorado Revised Statute states that, quote, "A person commits the crime of third-degree criminal trespass if such person unlawfully enters or remains in or upon premises of another." Section 18-4-504.5 defines premises as, quote, "real property, buildings, and other improvements thereon." And Section 18-4-201 clarifies that, quote, "A person enters unlawfully or remains unlawfully in or upon premises when the person is not licensed, invited, or otherwise privileged to do so. A person who, regardless of his or her intent, enters or remains in or upon premises that are at the time open to the public does so with license and privilege, unless the person defies a lawful order not to enter or remain, personally communicated to him or her by the owner of the premises or some other authorized person." Neither of these statutes requires that an individual receive any notice at all from the police, let alone a written formal notice, to be convicted of trespassing. If the post office is a federal enclave under concurrent or exclusive federal jurisdiction, federal law will likely control this issue under the Assimilative Crimes Act, which is found in Section 13 of Title 18 of the United States Code, and incorporates state law into the law of the federal enclave when a state crime is not punishable under the federal criminal statutes. While Poster 7 is likely the applicable criminal law if the post office is a federal enclave, just like the state law, the federal law does not include a formal written notice requirement. Therefore, under either state or federal law, Mr. Gutterman did not need to receive a formal written notice to commit trespass.
Give us your name and date of birth. That's how.
You don't need my name and date of birth for a trespass. No, you don't. You guys don't know the law.
Okay.
Okay, you really don't. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Well, you just told me I couldn't film in there, and I can.
That's your opinion.
Well, I'm gonna go back in.
No, you're not.
No, you're not, dude.
Well, then trespass me.
You are trespassed.
That's not a trespass.
After a lengthy exchange between Mr. Gutterman and the Silverthorne officers, everyone left the scene without further incident. Mr. Gutterman went on to file a lawsuit against the town of Silverthorne, and according to the Colorado Freedom of Information Coalition, the case was settled for $9,500 a few months later. Overall, the Silverthorne officers get a B, because although the officers appeared to be unfamiliar with Poster 7 and the legality of filming inside a post office, they remained calm and professional throughout the encounter, appeared to consult with their superiors before making any concrete decisions, and ultimately allowed Mr. Gutterman to go free without any charges. It is clear that the Silverthorne officers were operating outside the scope of their knowledge of the law, but it is likely that a court would have favored their defense if the town had taken this case to trial. This interaction highlights a perpetual misconception that tends to circulate throughout the auditing community, which is the idea that all government-owned property is subject to First Amendment protections. The Supreme Court has stated on numerous occasions that the government has the right to regulate the use of its property and ensure that the property is dedicated to its intended use. Whenever a government entity is sued, such as the town of Silverthorne, they must evaluate whether mounting a legitimate defense in the courtroom would be more cost-effective than settling the suit outright, and it is likely that the representatives of Silverthorne offered to settle the case to avoid wasting taxpayer dollars in a lengthy court battle, regardless of whether they would have won the case or not. As mentioned before, there is a strong possibility that the town of Silverthorne could have won this case, but it simply was not worth the time and expended resources to partake in what was likely viewed as a frivolous lawsuit. Mr. Gutterman gets a C-, because although he maintained a calm and professional demeanor throughout the interaction, he failed to acknowledge the full context of the Poster 7 clause he was referring to, demonstrated a fundamental misunderstanding of the limitations of free speech, and demanded a written trespass notice that he was not entitled to. As mentioned on the previous episode of ATA, there is a lot to be said about the Supreme Court's interpretation of the First Amendment, and oftentimes the court's rulings appear to be in direct conflict with a layman understanding of free expression. Nonetheless, viewing this interaction through the lens of the courts indicates that Mr. Gutterman's conduct here is likely not protected under the First Amendment. And although I personally believe that Mr. Gutterman is a valuable asset to the auditing community, it is clear that the courts would likely disagree with his interpretation of free speech. At the end of the day,
I try to tell the postmaster there's rules and regulations of Poster 7 that allows us to do this. He did not want to look at it. I advised your both officers about the rules and regulations. They didn't want to come in and take a look at it as well. Okay. While I was coming in here to gather my stamp, which I do still have a receipt for, even if I didn't need to buy anything, I still can be out here filming. I had people come up to me and say, why am I filming? I didn't engage them, sir. They engaged me. I don't know why else you guys would be called here, sir. Okay. So, and that's where we're at right now. If you don't mind, sir, I could take a look at the Poster 7 that allows me to do this.
Poster 7?
Yes.
Why don't you just explain to me what that is right now before we walk over there, though?
It allows me to basically film anything in the corridors, walkway entries in the building as well.
Sure, let's go look at it.
All right, I appreciate it. I didn't know why it takes a supervisor for two other people to take a look at it.
Well, I asked them. I wanted to come up and meet you.
And they haven't, I asked them 6 times, sir, to take a look. I'm sorry, I'm lying. Now it's 5. I didn't want to waste your resources coming out here, sir. And this is really disgusts me. People wear gloves and they just leave them in the parking lot. Where's our manners at? After you guys.
Sure.
Thank you.
You following in too, Mr. Garcia, so you can get. You're gonna stay out. You don't want to learn today? Right over here, sir.
Okay.
These are the rules and regulations of what we're allowed to do. If you want to take a look at Poster 7, which allows us look at the photography and news purposes over there.
Sure.
Oh, I do apologize about that, sir. Didn't see you there.
Well, I'm reading it here for you. It says that photographs for news purposes may be taken in entrances, lobbies, foyers, corridors, or auditoriums when used for public meetings, except where prohibited by official signs or security force personnel or other authorized personnel or a federal court order or rule. Except where prohibited by official signs or security force personnel or other authorized personnel or a federal court order or rule. So based off of that first paragraph, it says it has to be for news purposes or auditoriums when used for public meetings. And the catch is, it says, unless prohibited by official signs, security force personnel, or other authorized personnel. Now, I'll check with the postal inspector, but I'm pretty sure he's going to meet that definition of other authorized personnel.
All right, so authorized personnel and all that, that's me, like, I can't film behind those doors.
No, it's not saying who you can't film.
Okay.
It's saying photographs for news purposes may be taken in entrance lobbies, except where it's meaning you can take the pictures, except where it's saying
I cannot.
correct by either a sign, a security force, or another authorized personnel. So a sign can tell you you're not allowed to take photographs on this property. An authorized personnel can tell you that, or a security.
He got
Okay,
a lot
and
of
the
balls.
reason why I'm still going to stay in here and take pictures is because those policies don't trump my First Amendment. The First Amendment allows me, I'm the freedom of the press. I'm allowed to, in public, videotape wherever I want, okay? Unless I am trespassing. The eyes cannot trespass. So
Where does the limit extend to?
of me filming?
What if it was after hours?
Of course not. But we're still in hours here, sir. The only time I would not be allowed in here is if they're closed. Now, if he has that little gate open, that little door right there, the frame, I can stand right here and videotape. It's their job to cover everything up.
Well, I'm not going to get into a debate over what the First Amendment allows or doesn't. That's kind of up to the courts. I'm going to go after what their posted sign here says on their property.
Okay, so
which
then
says that another authorized personnel has the authority to tell you that you need to leave or stop photographing.
okay, so then I'm gonna put you in a very tough situation, sir. I'm gonna stand here, or we can just put the cuffs on me right now. Those are the situations that we're gonna be in, sir.
We're not there just quite yet.
No, because then I'll put it this way. I'm going to plead the fifth. I'm done talking. I'm going to give you two options. It's rather, I'm going to stand here in my building that you pay for as well, and everyone else in here, or we're going to put the cuffs on me. I'm going to reach in my pocket to get my other camera. I'm going to set this down here.
Did a GoPro.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if it'll capture it from you.
That's fine. Pick the poison, sir.
Well, I have to go get the postal inspector first. Let me go get the postal inspector, because I want to make sure, in accordance with our Commonwealth's attorney policy, that we actually have the property owner and manager in presence. Can you come out here, please, sir? Are you the postal inspector for the...
No, supervisor, sir.
You're a supervisor? Are you the highest ranking supervisor working with right now?
Yeah, the postmaster is in there.
He's what?
He's in there. The postmaster is in there.
Can you have him come out here, please? If you want, you can be at ease.
Nope.
I'm just saying you don't have to hold your arms up the whole time if you don't want to. You could also, if you want, you can just be casual. Hi. Okay, thank you, sir.
You guys gonna learn today, sir. We got domestic violence, and you guys are still here, right? Domestic violence, and you guys are still here wasting your resources on me, allowing to do this.
I'm not wasting resources.
I listen to the scanner all the time. And this time of need, you know what the highest rate is? Domestic violence and suicide rates. Right now, it's going on, and you guys are still here with me with the camera. You understand me? This is crazy. Domestic violence right now. But you guys are messing with me.
We're not messing with you. We got called here.
And I'm going to get that report before I leave, sir. I want that incident number. I already asked Mr. Garcia for it. And this guy still hasn't stated my name. I don't even know if he works here, sir.
Well, that's why I asked for the post. Although I'm sure he does. Hi, how you doing? How you doing? My name's Sergeant Brad Cadver. I'm with the Prince William County Police. How you doing? We're just trying to stay in accordance with what our Commonwealth's attorney has asked us to do. We read your sign. It was pointed out to us, the rules and regulations stating that filming or photography is allowed unless posted by a sign or a security force or another authorized personnel.
Correct.
I asked for the highest ranking supervisor here in the building. Is that you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I was told that you guys wanted to have this individual who's not chose to tell us his name identify himself. Is that true? Is that what you would like?
Yes.
Have him leave the property?
Yes.
Is that
So right now you're assessing a trespass. You are telling him to get me off
No,
the
I'm
property.
asking him if that's what he wants us to do.
You're
Do you not want him trespassed?
No, I don't want him. No trespass. Is that what happened?
Yeah, he was just here filming and then the customers were getting upset.
Yes, I want him to remove.
So you want him trespassed and removed from the property and the curtilage thereof?
Yes.
Okay. All
okay.
right then.
Here we go, sir. This is the option I'm
Okay.
putting you in.
Well, sir, you've been informed.
I can't trespass a building that I own and you own as well.
I'm just letting you know before we charge you with trespassing that you have been notified by the supervisor. What was your exact title, sir?
I'm the OIC, acting postmaster.
Acting postmaster of this location. And he has told you he doesn't want you in the building or on the curtilage thereof in the presence of local law enforcement. So we're going to go ahead and do our job as we are instructed to do. You're more than likely to take up this dispute in court, as you'll have a court date, and that's where you can contest based on the ideas that you have. Okay, and whether or not you feel it's a violation of your First Amendment rights, that's what the purpose of the trial is for.
I'm just gonna, sorry to cut you off, but I am gonna
That's
cut
fine.
you off. I hate when people say sorry to cut you off and they cut you off.
Understandable.
Has he's taken a look at his own rules and regulations?
I'm not. That's not my
Okay,
responsibility,
sir, I'm just, can I get your name, please?
Sir, I got you leave the building, please.
Okay, I'm gonna leave, listen to this. I'm gonna leave the building on a threat, but I'm gonna let you know, this is a public building. I'm gonna stand right here in public.
Well, I said the curtilage thereof, so it means
So-
anywhere it's the curtilage of the property.
So
of the
now you're
post
taking,
office.
so you're trespassing me from a public
No.
spot.
Here, I'll tell you where. I can show you where the curtilage ends.
No. I know that's. You know
just
what?
trying to help out.
No, this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna stay right here, sir. I'm gonna put you guys in this type of situation.
The curtilage is right here where the public sidewalk is. You can still sit there and film the building all day long from there if you like. But the parking lot and the building itself.
I'm gonna put you guys in that type of situation, like I said earlier. Here we go. I'm not leaving.
So you're refusing to leave after being lawfully told by the property owner in the presence of local law enforcement that you want to stay on the property. Is that correct?
Sir,
I'm just asking if that's what you want to do.
I want to.
If you don't, you would be walking out with us right
I want to stay on my building, the building that we pay for.
now. Okay. The building your taxpayers pay for. This building right here, you want to stay in it right now.
Yes.
After having been told by the supervisor of
To
the building
leave my building, yes.
and by the local law enforcement in their presence. So you want to go ahead and stay here.
Yes, to leave. This is my building, sir.
At this time, you would then be considered trespassing. Are you willing to leave the property?
I'm not willing to leave the property.
Are you
sir.
a Virginia resident?
Yes, I am, sir.
Okay.
Not willing to leave this property. I'm going to put you in this type of situation.
Since you told me you're a Virginia resident, once we identify you, we can go ahead and release you on a summons.
I'm not.
If you're willing to comply and then leave the building.
I'm not willing to give you my name, sir. I
Okay.
haven't committed a
If you're
crime.
not willing to stop the act, we'll have to take you into custody and bring you before a magistrate. Do you understand that? Okay. I'll let you set your phone down so it doesn't get damaged at this
So
point
we'll
in
do
time.
it right out here, sir.
Sure, you can go outside.
You guys know the rules and regulations. You know this is not right, sir.
Well, I'm acting on the rules and regulations as they have posted and as they have
Listen,
noted.
listen. Do you understand what I'm doing, sir?
I do. Yeah, I'm very familiar with this.
When you were an officer, you swore to uphold the Constitution. Is that
That's correct.
All three of you guys, right? What I am doing is not wrong. Now I have to prove a point. Now I'm about to go to jail right now to prove a point, and I'm pretty sure you guys know exactly what type of situation I've been in with you guys before. If not, you guys would be well aware of it. I've not committed a crime, sir.
Are you the individual that was arrested for wearing a mask out by County Complex?
You're exactly right, sir. You guys
I'm
know
well
exactly
aware of that.
who I am. And you guys
Well, I
know
don't remember your name, to be honest, off the top of
and
my
you guys
head.
know exactly what I do. All right? I already have a letter from the chief stating that those two officers have done something wrong in that situation. I don't want to put you three in the situation. I really don't. Okay? And sir, and please, this is not like a threat that I'm taking it.
No, I don't
I want to
think it
help
is.
all three of us out, okay?
No, and
You think on a Friday I want to go sit in magistrate right now?
I hope not.
All right? No, I don't. But listen, I'm here to prove a point, and you guys are here to uphold the law, sir. And you've been very cordial with me. All three of you guys have.
I think, I think the main difference between the two examples you had before, the one where you were out on the open complex, public grounds of the county complex, out there at the government center, that was an open and freely accessible sidewalk and public area.
And this is too, sir. Sir, do you see where I'm going?
I see where you're
This
going.
is a federal building that taxpayers pay. I don't want to put you in this situation,
It
sir.
is a federal building that taxpayers pay.
Okay,
but at
so
the same
then-
time, they have a sign posted, which you referred me to. You're the one who directed me
And
to.
that allows me to do this. You can't trespass somebody from public.
It allows
sir.
you to do it unless restricted by authorized personnel.
Here we go. All right.
So-
I think you guys are putting. Do you want to do this? I'm sorry. I shouldn't. I know you're the head one in charge. Think about this, sir. And this is not a threat.
Thank you, man.
All right. So I'm gonna let you guys know right now. I'm outside. I'm gonna walk back in there. All right. And if you guys want to solicit.
I just want to give you some options, though, because if you want to just record the happenings of the post office, you can stand out there beyond the curtilage.
I'm going to videotape mine and your building and everyone else's building in here. I'm going to go back into my building.
Okay.
All right, sir?
So you're doing this to challenge the legality of their sign they have posted in there? Is that the reason you're doing it?
I'm making sure they know their rules and regulations. I've already been here for almost an hour now, and I'm wasting resources like I told you. I just heard on your call there's domestic violence right now, and you guys know it just like I told you guys inside there. Right now, since this quarantine's going on, the biggest calls that you guys are getting, suicides and domestic violence. Is that right?
Well, I don't know. I haven't looked at the
Is that right?
stats.
Majority of the calls. Stop
we're
playing
getting
with
those,
me.
yes.
Yes.
We're
And
getting
where
those calls.
are we at now with me? So how about
Well, the
this,
problem is, sir, so long as you're on the property and the property owner is wishing that you
What's
leave,
the
I can't
what's the
just leave.
difference between that property that's a public property and the property that I own over here?
All right, sir.
Sorry, sir.
Come on, man.
Okay.
We shouldn't have to do it. And what's your
I
name
know.
one more time, sir?
For Sergeant Brad Cavender.
We shouldn't do this, sir. I have
know.
no ill will, man.
I know
I haven't
you
raised
don't.
my voice.
I know.
I have done everything to
But
comply with what I'm doing.
This is the last time I'm going to say it. The manager has asked you to leave. He's the supervisor of the post office, the acting
don't-
postmaster. If you're not
Are we
willing to
going
leave the
here?
curtilage of the building and go onto the public property down there, we're going to have to charge you for trespassing. If you aren't going to provide an idea and refrain from doing the act further,
What is the
we'll have to
ID?
bring
What
you-
is the ID going to do that's going to stop me from going inside this
The
building?
ID is not going to stop you from doing anything, but it allows us to release you on a summons if you show us that you're a Virginia resident and you're willing to stop the act, as opposed to going to jail. That's what the ID does. It's a charge that's releasable on a summons. So if you're willing to show us your ID and no longer
Am
be
I
on the
am I
property,
am I detained? Am I
right
being
now,
detained?
you're free to leave if you'd like to go.
And that means I'm free to stay.
No, because he's told you have
see
to
what
leave.
I'm saying? You're telling if I'm not being detained,
You're not being detained by the police, but you're not free to be on this property. So you can either comply with the property owner's wishes and leave the property,
no,
or we'll
stop
have to charge
saying sir. State it
the
right.
property manager, the
Oh, no,
supervisor of the post.
Our property.
Fine. The supervisor of the
No, no.
piece of property.
Our property.
Okay. Well, it's still the supervisor.
And it's mine, yours, his. That young lady that
All
just
right.
left here.
At this time, you're under arrest for trespassing. Go ahead and put your hands behind your back.